Hey everybody, it's Scott, Simcoe Spring Service here, and today we had a customer bring us some springs from a 1985 F150, and they're from a scrapyard, so the scrapyard guys went and chopped all the hangers off so he can get the springs out of the vehicle. And so we got a couple problems here. So he tried to get the bolt out and he's having nothing but problems with it because the bolt's seized up inside the sleeve in there, and they're super hard to get out because when you strike it with a hammer, it just bounces in the rubber. So what I wanted to do was show you today how we get these out. This one's not going to be too bad once I get it all cleaned up. This one here I'm kind of worried about because it's actually moving up and down. I don't know if you can see that, but because it's moving, the bolt will come out nicely, but I don't know if the bushings are in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it all apart, like I'm going to save everything, and then I'll analyze it to determine whether or not I want to actually keep it, or if we're just going to take the bushings, throw them out, and put new ones in. We're also going to go, and the shackles were cut in half too, and he was trying to get them apart, and it looks like that bolt's seized in there too. So we're just going to try to strip it all apart, and this one's loose. Look at that. So who knows? We'll go through it all and we'll just disassemble it, and then we'll determine whether or not we can save everything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clamp this in my spring disassembly bench. So what this has is it has a 20-ton hydraulic ram inside of here, and that'll clamp the spring and keep it stable for me so I can work and not have to worry about it flopping around, and make it a lot easier to work on. So I'm actually going to get rid of this little mushrooming piece here. I'm just going to cut it off so I can get this off. And I'm going to see if I can actually do a heat cycle on the bolt and see if that warming the head of the bolt will allow the heat to slowly soak in and maybe free up some of that rust. And then I'll hit it with the air chisel and see what happens. So we'll heat that up red hot and allow that heat to drive into the bushing. So what we want to do is we want to get it really hot like that really quickly and get as much heat on the bolt itself without heating up any of the rest of the stuff. You can see the bushing is already starting to smoke a tiny little bit, and we don't really want that to smoke very much because that'll start melting the bushing. So yeah, I'll hit it with the air chisel and see what happens. So whenever I air chisel, I always want to stabilize something. So I'm gonna stabilize my arm like this and get on it like that, and that'll allow me to control it better. If I slip off like that, it can hurt. Slip off like that. Just want to be really careful when you're air chiseling. All right, I better stop quick because you can see the end of the bolts getting all mushroomed out, and it won't actually go through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knock it back and I'm gonna cut that off, and then I should be able to knock it out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get Mr. Wiggles out and clean the rust out so I can fit a new bolt in there. Messed up. Who put this in here? Oh! Take 3. Works just like magic. So it looks like we got that cleaned up pretty good. Takes a bolt nicely. I'm going to turn it around and we're going to look at the other bushing and see if we can get it apart. Okay, so there's this problem. The nuts fused to the bolt. So we'll heat that up and get that loose. I'm going to leave that nut on there so I can get inside of it with the air chisel. Okay, so it looks like this is going to be a problem here. So it looks like the bushing is dissolved. It looks like it's made out of plastic and it's just kind of worn away or rotted away. It's very strange. Let's see if I can dig it out of here. Should be in 2 halves. Try to break it free without wrecking it. Melted, and see if I can find a new bushing for it. So I knocked all the rust out of here, and there's quite a bit. And I think what happened was the bushing was in there, and the rust jacked the eye open. So they call it rust jacking, or whatever you want to call it. essentially it blew the eye open, so the new bushing doesn't even fit inside the eye. So what we're going to do is we're going to close it up with the press. We got this all tightened up, and now the bushing can get pressed in there. So I'm going to show you two different ways that you can do it. I'm going to do one on the anvil, and I'm going to do one with the hydraulic press. And I have a feeling we're going to have the exact same issues. So we'll take it apart and see what it looks like. So I absolutely hate floppy springs like this, but I feel like they don't do anything. So I'm going to pull it apart. I'm going to re-arch this so it all sits together properly, and we get the right pressures, because each leaf is supposed to be pushing up on the leaf above it. And if it's not pushing up on the leaf above it, then it's completely worthless. So I'm going to go fix that right now. So we're going to shoot you a little time lapse here of us cleaning the leaves off. We're going to knock all the rust out of them. I'm going to knock out some of these broken plastic pads here. They're all coming apart. Then what we're going to do is we're going to check the arch on these. And if you want to come in and see how the arch is really bad. So we're going to touch up the arch right here. And we're going to touch up the arch right here, so we can close that gap up, and then we'll go through the whole spring that way and make sure that everything's nice and tight. So that fits a lot better. Nice and clean. The leaves aren't floppy anymore. They're supporting each other. I can put pressure on them. So now we'll assemble the spring, get it clamped up, and put a new center bolt in it, put some new plastic pads in it, and get it ready for the customer.